Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
But tell me, Eddie, is that a rabbit in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me?
So, no, I am not late, Gravy. I did see your comment. But welcome to another solo outing. I'll be going into a few articles. One that will most likely make me rage. Very likely make me rage because it is a Screen Rant article on Rings of Power, pretty much defending what happened in Rings of Power Season 1, but so I'm going to save that for last, pretty much. But the articles I will be going into, two are unbounding in the comics. Okay, so one we have basically Big Brother Activision, who is going to be using, using AI for global real-time voice chat moderation. So Big Brother is going to be watching you if you're playing the Call of Duty games, but in particular Modern Warfare 3. So God forbid we return to the glory days of the Call of Duty lobbies, where none of these snowflakes would have survived at all, pretty much. But yeah, Activision is turning into Big Brother, pretty much, with this. The second article, now I never really got into Punisher, but this just boggles my mind, pretty much. So, like, there's new Punisher out, and apparently, all right, so it's to reimagine, right, from the goals of the new Punisher writer, pretty much, reimagine and revamp some very cool pre-existing villains, and he's also making the Punisher report to a woman. Now, again, I never really got into the Punisher, but last I checked, the Punisher was really not one to report to anyone, man or woman. Like, that is basically the mindset of the Punisher. He's literally a one-man bad guy killing machine, pretty much, to kind of boil everything down. He's like, he doesn't report to anyone. He goes and finds the bad guys and pretty much kills them. That's the Punisher. That's the Punisher. And I'm not trying to trivialize that, but at the same time, because I do like the character, just never really got into reading his comic books. But at the same time, it's like, I know he wouldn't report to anyone. He's not the type. That's not his character. But now that's what they're doing. That's what New Marvel is doing, apparently. And then the third article is an article shared with me from Trey, and it's a Screen Rant article, so it's going to get the special clip for Screen Rants. And again, as I said in my video yesterday, it's like, we get it, Screen Rants, we get it. Your Rings of Power shills. You can drop the facade of journalistic integrity already, pretty much. It's like, there's no integrity whatsoever existing with you right now. The Rings of Power's new Mordor origin story actually fits with Tolkien's Lord of the Rings mythology. Yes, they're claiming that the shit that Amazon pulled with the creation of Mordor in Season 1 actually fits within Tolkien's mythology. That's what Screen Rant is claiming. All right, I'm going to save that for last, because I'm going to show other links, pretty much going into a little bit of the history. That says it's easier for me to show links than try to find stuff in my books, pretty much. All right, but there it is. I'm saving that one for last for obvious reasons. But anyway, so I'm not late, Gravy. I'm not late. So, how are you doing? Yes, I'll be on Kick shortly after this. Let me just I'll just post my Kick link in the chat. So my Kick. I cannot type today. Okay. So, yeah, I'll be there following this stream for like a chill gaming stream. Most likely just jumping on to Uno, just because I have a headache. Did not really sleep that well. It's hot. I'm tired from running errands. I had to make an appointment to get new tires on my car, and that's going to cost a pretty fucking penny for next week. So, yeah, pretty much. Like, roll, Yamara. Oh, wait, this isn't the full Aussie. Yeah. I'll still roll. So, hey, Mr. Bentham, good to see you. Okay, so Mazza called you Trish. Well, Mazza's retarded. Mazza's basically just retarded. Let's see. Tara Crystal, hello, good to see you. So, Oh, you missed that drink? Yeah. Fave flavor? Yeah. So new Punisher answers to a whammon. So yeah. With the like installation and fees, like fees and taxes, it will come to like $475. They're like, my car is a Toyota Scion. All right, it's really not that big. I mean, granted, it doesn't have the smallest tires, like it's like they're 17 inches. All right, those tires pretty much. So they're not the smallest, but they're not big either. And the cheapest I could get, because I went to Sam's Club. I don't know if anybody y'all have like a Sam's Club near you or know what Sam's Club is. It's basically like Costco. You buy shit in bulk, pretty much. The cheapest was like $100 per tire. And I remember like back when Trump was president, like that they would be like what, about $80 per tire, roughly. Like not exactly cheap, but sure as hell not as expensive as it is now. Like sure as hell not as expensive as it is now. So thank you, Joe Biden, you fucking asshole. Anyway, so yeah, so those are the topics I'll be going into. So let's just dive right into the first one. Let's talk about Big Brother Activision pulling this bullshit. Thank you, Bounding, for the stupid ads. That sounds about right now. Yeah. Hey, Zach Rod. Like I said, like they weren't exactly cheap. Back when Trump was president, but they sure as hell weren't as expensive as they are now. Yeah, Sam's Club, because basically Sam's Club and Walmart are owned by the same overall umbrella corporation, because Sam Walton founded the overall entity, pretty much. So basically you have Sam's Club, Sam, Walmart, Walton. Mind blown. Anyway, so here it is. Big Brother Activision. So if you're still playing Call of Duty, guess what? So now Activision Blizzard, in their infinite retardation, will begin using AI for, quote, global real-time voice chat moderation in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. So if you're planning on getting Modern Warfare 3, pretty much Big Brother's going to be watching you. It is literally right out of George Orwell's 1984. That's where we are. That is where we are, ladies and gentlemen. We are now fully into Orwell's 1984 with Activision and Call of Duty. So if it's real time, and so how are they going to monitor what is offensive or not? Pretty much, I would just want to know that. I would want to know what powers that be will be monitoring this, because it's just going to be it's not just going to be the AI. It's not just going to be the AI doing this. So some human, team is going to be also monitoring what the AI is monitoring, and they're going to make the determination if it sticks or not. So what determination, how are they going to, what factors are they going to incorporate in their decision making? So yeah, proving it again, why they're the premier frontrunner for the title of worst video game company currently in existence, Activision Blizzard has announced that they will premiere a new AI-powered voice chat moderation system in their upcoming Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. The result of a partnership between the video game developer and Modulate, a, quote, Boston-based startup using machine learning and AI technologies to create safer and more inclusive voice chat experiences. The fact that it's Boston, and Boston's notoriously left-leaning, comes as no shock to me. Boston is notoriously leftist-leaning right now, so it really comes as no shock to me that they're creating this technology for more inclusive voice chat experiences. Voice chat has always been inclusive. No matter who you are, you're getting called shit, you're getting called trash, being told to get good, you're being told to whatever. You're getting called gay, retarded, a bunch of other gamer words, pretty much. It's already fucking inclusive. It's already equal opportunity in the trash talking. If you think about it, it's already equal opportunity. But it's not, but it's not inclusive enough because we have to now incorporate the element of safe spaces in voice chat. I don't want to live on this planet anymore. The Call of Duty franchise's new moderation system will use the latter company's proprietary Tox Mod. It's actually called Tox Mod. Jesus Christ. Technology to deliver global real-time voice chat moderation at scale. Tox Mod, the AI-powered voice chat moderation technology from Modulate, can identify in real time and enforce against toxic speech, including hate speech, discriminatory language, harassment, and more. Again, how does it differentiate between trash talking, and actual genuine hate speech, genuine discriminatory language, genuine harassment? How are they going to differentiate? How the fuck are they going to differentiate? And the answer to that is they're not. They're not going to differentiate, because so they're going to basically make sure that voice chat pretty much is non-existent, because no one's going to want to fucking use it. No one's going to want to use it because, let's say they're like in the middle of a whatever, like firefight round with their team or whatever, like they're playing, let's say, Warzone or whatever. They're playing Warzone, they're in the middle of a firefight, and like they're yelling at the other team, they're yelling at their teammates and things like that, and they drop a gamer word, pretty much, and just out of, like, you know, just the excitement and the tension and so forth, they drop a gamer word, bam, they're cut, pretty much, because oops, nope, that's toxic speech. Even though they've never done anything like that at all in the past, they drop one word or whatever, one instance, and they're going to be kicked. So how are they going to differentiate? Like there's no way that they can. No way that they can ever do anything that would ever remotely be beneficial to the players in voice chat. Nothing. Wrote Activision Blizzard in an August 30th blog post announcing the upcoming change to their online ecosystem. This new development will bolster the ongoing moderation systems led by Call of Duty anti-toxicity team. The fact that they even have an anti-toxicity team, you're a bunch of... Call yourself Acticucks. Cuckvision. You are now fucking Cuckvision. Alright? The fact that you have an anti-toxicity team, I want hashtag Cuckvision. I want you to tag Activision, alright? On Twitter, if you're on Twitter, all right, and tell them they need to rename themselves Cuckvision or something along those lines. So, because this is the dumbest shit I've ever seen, which includes text-based filtering across 14 languages for in-game text, chat, and usernames, as well as robust in-game player reporting system. The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings books are translated into more languages than this will have, pretty much. So, you know what? What I would do is I would look up the most archaic language I could find. All right, see if I can find something along those lines. See if I can figure out, like, you know, certain, like, slurs, or maybe not slurs, pretty much, but, like, you know, offensive language in one, like, you know, classical Greek or something like that. Pretty much, it's not spoken today, and just just like start throwing out names like that and see if Activision catches that. If I were playing, that's what I would do. I would figure out what the 14 languages are, and I would pick a language that is not being moderated and find every fucking curse word known to mankind in that language and drop it every chance I got. That's what I would do. Regarding the timeline for Tox Mod's implementation, Activision Blizzard confirmed that an initial beta rollout of the voice chat moderation technology will begin in North America on August 30th inside the existing games Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, which I uninstalled, and Call of Duty Warzone, to be followed by a full worldwide release, including Asia, timed to Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 on November 10th. All right. All right, so I'm going to read this paragraph here. First, Tox Mod triages voice chat data to determine which conversations warrant investigation and analysis. The company mapped out the AI's thinking process. Second, Tox Mod analyzes the tone, context, and perceived intention of those filtered conversations using its advanced machine learning processes. Press X to doubt. Third, Tox Mod escalates the voice chats deemed most toxic and empowers moderators to efficiently take actions to mitigate bad behavior and build healthier communities. Yeah, because God fucking forbid anybody drops any gamer words in a Call of Duty lobby. Alright, so this development is but the latest in the popular first-person shooters franchise's recent turn towards cleaning up its player base's behavior. Alright, so I'm not going to go into that, basically, because the whole stupid code of conduct thing that they had us agree to when Modern Warfare 2 dropped last year. So, Big Brother's watching you guys. Big Brother's watching you. I'm going to say, I'll catch up with the chat. Yeah, Modern Warfare 84. AI can't tell context, so if I call a friend a British Sig in the game, I'm going to get banned. Yeah. Even though you're talking to a friend, if you drop that word, you're going to get banned. The kids who play Call of Duty couldn't handle the trash talk are now running into companies and want to ruin it for everyone. Yeah, pretty much. Hey, Sultan. Probably parents can... No. Well, maybe some parents complain, but for the most part, this is an example of a company bowing to the screeching howler monkeys on Twitter, the SJWs, the identity politics, because they don't want to get canceled or anything like that. So they figure they're going to appease the cancel culture crowd by doing this shit, and then wonder why. Player base, I'm not saying this will happen with Activision necessarily, because the player base demonstrated how fucking stupid they are with the less than 24-hour roughly ban, boycott. Because once certain things rolled out, it's like, oh, I gotta get the battle pass. So that boycott was like shit. So this is an example of a company pretty much making the dumbest decisions possible so they don't get canceled. All right, so they're trying to appease a certain demographic, and they're not going away anytime soon because, again, the player base is full of bunch of retarded people. I'm not going to mince words. It's full of retarded people who will continue to buy the game or whatever games Activision puts out, buy the battle passes, buy the skins. No matter what Activision does, will continue to do so. So, yeah, I think so. Yeah, it was. He says, I don't fucking care. Get your mom. Yeah, I think he's yelling at that kid. Hey, Charge, good to see you. What's to stop the government from doing the same thing? If speech is controlled, the people are controlled. That's what I said. It's right out of Orwell's 1984. Hey, Hound, good to see you. I've whenever I was playing the Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer, I actually I killed one of the other enemy team players with a shotgun, and over the voice chat was like shotgun N-word, pretty much. I heard full on N-word. Considering I had a friend who was offended over the Spanish word for black, which is negro, not pronounced with as the slur is pronounced, what's going to happen? Yeah. They look at it and go, it's like, oh, it's like, never mind that the language existed before the slur. Never mind, it was like hundreds of years. At the very fucking least. Before that became a slur. Never mind that. No, take that completely out of context. It looks like it's spelled like the slur. That must be a bad. Or find fictional languages. Yeah, I will go and learn Elvish, and I'll figure out how to say slurs in Elvish over a multiplayer. Elvish or Dwarvish. That's what I'll do. Toxic Hound, yeah. You learned High Valkorian and Navi. Yes, you learned High. Yeah. Self-censoring now required. Oh shit! You shot my ass. Asp, you dumb bleach. Yes, basically they're going to force players to self-censor themselves. They can't be themselves. But there it is. That's what Activision is doing. Big Brother Activision. They are now Cuckvision. But there it is. Anyway, so let's talk about new Punisher. The game can become boring because it's good to jump on for a little bit at a time, but not like dedicate necessarily like your entire like you're jumping on a multiplayer, things like that. It's fine, but if you do it all the time, yeah, it can be boring because it's like nothing changes. Unless you're grinding the battle pass, nothing really changes. Fine, there it is. There's the new Punisher article. Yeah. Time to learn Klingon. Exactly. But here it is. I don't know how many of you are into the Punisher, read the comics or anything. Like, I never really got into the character. But now you have a new Punisher. All right. Writer reveals one of his goals for the series is to, quote, reimagine and revamp some very cool pre-existing villains. The reimagine is typically pick whatever cool report to a woman. Again, I never really got into reading about the character, never got into his comics or anything like that. YouTube, you fucking pieces of shit. I never read his comics, but I can know the character well enough that I could say he never reported to anyone. He never reported to anyone. Hey, if you like Dolph Lundgren's The Punisher, yeah. I'm saying, like, I never really got into the StreamYard. There it is. StreamYard, you're fucking assholes. Fix your fucking site. But anyway, he never reported to anyone. He's not the type of character at all to report to anyone, man or woman. Man or woman. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. He is like the epitome of anti-hero. Right? Up until this point, I've never seen him report to anyone. He's the epitome of anti-hero vigilante. That's his character. So Marvel Comics writer David Pepose, who takes on a new Punisher series, recently revealed one of his goals for the series is to reimagine and revamp some very cool pre-existing villains. I think they ruined Punisher's look. They got rid of the iconic skull. It was announced at San Diego Comic-Con that Pepose would launch a new Punisher series. However, it would not feature Frank Castle as the Punisher, but would introduce a new Punisher named Joe Garrison, a former S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. Marvel originally teased the series writing in a blog post. In this action-packed new Punisher saga, Frank Castle has disappeared, but evil will always need to be punished. With all new threats rising to claim innocent victims, criminals will need to be aware of a dangerous vigilante hunting them down from the shadows. Enter a new Punisher, retired S.H.I.E.L.D. Black Ops agent Joe Garrison. But what brings him back into action? What put Joe Garrison on his path of vengeance? And when the smoke clears, will he even make it out alive? They're missing the whole point of vigilante hunting them down, like by having them report to someone. Because that would be like John Wick reporting to someone. John Wick doesn't really report to anyone. He goes to people for help, but he doesn't report. Which doesn't make any sense. Yeah, that pretty much, yeah. The guilty need to be punished. That's why he's called the Punisher. Yeah, he's a vigilante. That's what he literally says right there. He's a vigilante. Vigilantes do not report to anyone. That's literally in the definition of vigilante, pretty much. Like, they are a one man, one woman judge, jury, and executioner. They don't report to anyone. That was Frank Castle. And that was Frank Castle. Wow, that artwork looks so bad. Character design, whatever. Now, in an interview with CBR, Pappost provided more details about the series, including a number of goals he has for the series and how Joe Garrison is different yet similar to Frank Castle. Interestingly, Pappost revealed that the idea of Joe Garrison becoming the Punisher was not his idea, but was Marvel editor Tom Brevoort's, as he explained how the Punisher mantle is not something that Joe Garrison takes up, but something that finds him. Alright, it's not a mantle. Frank Castle is the Punisher. It's not a mantle. Just like Batman is not a mantle. Just like Thor is not a mantle. They aren't names that basically get passed down. All right, Bruce Wayne is Batman. No one else is Batman. Bruce Wayne is Batman. Frank Castle is the Punisher. No one else is the Punisher. It is not. I hate this. I fucking hate this. Like the new comics doing this, as if these names can just be handed down from one character to another. No. Create a new fucking character. You would think, based on what how Marvel is now, or like what they've done. But, okay. I think there's a degree of finding one's identity in Joe's overarching story. While this character has a very particular set of skills, I think that I think that phrase has now just been thrown around so much that it's kind of cringe to me. It's kind of cringe. Just a little bit, in my opinion. The thorough line of our stories about Joe coming to terms with the Punisher mantle. Again, it's not a mantle. Frank Castle's the Punisher. It's not always a legacy that you adopt. Sometimes it's a legacy that defines you. Again, it's not a legacy. It's not a legacy. What is it about? Look at this. Look at this. Where do they find these artists? Like something like the masks of the men in the backgrounds, but the masks, like the masks themselves look cool. The details for that look cool, but everything else? Where do they find these artists? Pepos went on to reveal that regardless of who takes on the Punisher I hate this. Stop using it. It does require certain traits. I do think there are some core traits that embody any character who takes on the Punisher's, who commandeers the Punisher's name. There's the grittiness and relentlessness, basically Frank Castle. There are the all-too-human vulnerabilities that enhance the stakes, balanced by the deadly skills, arsenal of weapons, and willingness to sacrifice himself that let the Punisher take on enemies way outside of his weight class, Frank Castle. Even if that means taking some serious hits along the way, Frank Castle. Why the fuck did you not keep Frank Castle? He added, ultimately, I think there has to be a degree of personal tragedy that spurs his character on their mission, Frank Castle, but I also think it's a bit of a Rorschach test in how that mission is defined and pursued by each character, Frank Castle, and that's something I'm really excited to explore with Joe Garrison's journey. You literally described Frank Castle to a fucking T. Why didn't you keep him? Oh, they made the swords red, so yeah. Bad guys. As for what the personal tragedy is, Pepos revealed, back in the day, Joe was an incredibly deadly Wetworks agent known only in the most shadowy corners as the Gravedigger of S.H.I.E.L.D., but after years of getting his hands dirty for Marvel's leading spy network, Joe retired to pursue the call of family. Frank Castle! He didn't work for S.H.I.E.L.D. or anything, but retired to focus on his family. Frank fucking Castle. He's literally describing Frank Castle. He continued, unfortunately for Joe, someone just blew up his house with that family still inside of it. Okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't Frank Castle's family, like his entire family, murdered? Like literally massacred? Which was the catalyst for him becoming the Punisher? That is Frank Castle. That is literally that, with the exception of the Shield backgrounds, that is Frank Castle's origin story. Again, I never got into reading the character, but I know the character well enough to say that is Frank Castle's origin story. That is Frank Castle. You're literally taking the beats of Frank Castle's origin story, having him disappear, and putting another guy in his place with those same beats. That is laziness 101. And the police are inclined to think the husband did it. With the manhunt out for his arrest, Joe is going to have to find out who set him up, but as he'll discover, that mission may have some evolving parameters. Right. Slight difference there with him, the police thinking he's doing it. So how much you want to bet it's going to be like a little bit of an anti-cop sentiment. I'm not saying Frank Castle liked cops necessarily, but given today's political atmosphere, I feel like there's going to be a tinge, all right, of like the leftist politics for like in regards to the police in this story. While this sounds extremely similar to Frank Castle's background, it literally is, with minor exceptions, it literally is Frank Castle's background. But Post did elaborate on the differences he sees between Garrison and Castle. On the one hand, Joe is certainly no stranger to death and destruction, given the bloody jobs he used to execute for S.H.I.E.L.D. back in the day. But I'd say, unlike Frank Castle, Joe hasn't had the time to marinate in his tragedy. That allows readers to really follow Joe's mindset as he undertakes this mission. By the time we met Frank Castle, he had already decided to become the Punisher. For Joe, this decision might take some time. He then shared the two approach criminals differently. But I think even the way Joe approaches the situation tactically might differ from how Frank might have done it. I liken Frank to a wrecking ball, whereas Joe is all about finesse. Joe is the kind of guy who darts through crowds of enemies, meticulously picking them off one at a time in what looks almost like a beautifully choreographed way. I mean, if you're not on the receiving end of those shield guns, of course. So basically, you give Joe Garrison Frank Castle's origin story, and you throw in some John Wick in there. Guy who darts through crowds of enemies, particularly picking them off one at a time in what looks almost like a beautifully choreographed way. That is John Wick. So you take Frank Castle's origin story, change a minor thing here and there, pretty much, so it's not completely the same, and you throw in elements of John Wick in there to make him different. Marvel and DC are dead. Proposed then revealed his plans to reimagine a number of villains as Garrison attempts to track down the person responsible for killing his family. We'll see in our first issue that Joe is hot on the trail of the man who blew up his house. Of course, this guy is going to throw some pretty harrowing obstacles in Joe's path, in which we'll get to see our new Punisher show his mettle. Without spoiling too much, my goals for the Punisher are to reimagine and revamp some very cool pre-existing villains from across the Marvel Universe, while also giving him some brand new bad guys to call his own. I don't trust any reimagining or revamping at all of any character, hero or villain, in the current state of comic books. It's not to say that Joe won't be killing some very deserving people, but as he'll be the first to tell you, there are some punishments that are far worse than death. I'd say death is pretty much the fucking worst. I mean, if you make it a quick, painless death, maybe there are worse things than that, like a slow and painful one. But death is typically as final as it gets. What? So he's in punishments that are worse than death. So he's going to make the villains think about what they did. Okay. Not only will these villains be reimagined, but Marvel made sure to put the character under the thumb of a woman. Proposed chair, AAA is Joe's handler from his Shield days, and she serves as the woman in the chair for Joe's missions as he seeks to avenge his family. AAA follows in the footsteps that Microchip did once upon a time. He elaborated, not only does she outfit Joe with his weaponry as his cue, but she also provides him with breaking intel that lets readers get to follow along with all the cool bad guys we're throwing into the mix. So you're kind of turning her into Oracle, okay? AAA is pretty much Oracle. But more importantly, AAA allows us to have a degree of warmth and humor that Joe's mission might not otherwise allow us to have. Mm-hmm. It's unclear why anyone would purchase the series after the first issue. The entire series, as described by Pep Post in this interview and how it was initially announced at San Diego Comic-Con, appears it's just a derivative version of Frank Castle. Not only does Garrison sound like a derivative version of Castle, but of course Marvel has to push the demasculization and demoralization narrative with having Garrison report to a woman. It's also not hard to imagine that the very cool pre-existing villains will be reimagined to fit the same demoralization narrative. Furthermore, we don't know what kind of family Joe Garrison has. One can only imagine it fits the agenda. Well, I'm not necessarily gonna assume there, but at the same time, it's like I would not put it past them. But again, they took Frank Castle's origin story, gave that origin story to a new character, so Frank Castle could disappear. Include elements of John Wick in there, so again, borrowing from John Wick. AAA, what was described there, like reeks of Oracle, which is Barbara Gordon's character when she was paralyzed in the. Sorry, I gotta take this. Anyway, all right, and Frank Castle never really he might have worked. Oh, not alongside, but with someone kind of helping him, but at the same time, he never reported. Like, he literally was, like, he was the embodiment of vigilantism, pretty much. If there's a bad guy out there, man or woman, that person needed to be punished. That was his goal. That was his mindset. Right? Vigilantism is literally judge, jury, and executioner rolled into one. That is the Punisher. So why would the Punisher at all report to anyone? It makes absolutely no fucking sense. It makes absolutely no fucking sense if you think about it. Yeah. Bullseye will be bullshit, yeah. Because he's problematic, yes. They do need to at least go so far in the red that they get bought out. Yeah, Frank's family was murdered, so he's going after the bad guys. Pretty much. It literally is died Frank. It's like Frank Lights. That is his character. And she's probably stronger and more better at everything than he is. They ruined Frank Castle and are trying to repair the damaged Punisher without admitting that they made a mistake in ruining Frank. Oh, yeah, agreed. Yeah, I know. They ruined Frank Castle. So part of me, in a way, is glad that they didn't keep him. At the same time, it's like... It's just a stupid... Because the Punisher name is not a mantle. Frank Castle is the Punisher. It's not like you just take the name and all of a sudden you're the Punisher now. No, it's Bruce Wayne is Batman. Frank Castle's the Punisher. All right. Thor is not a mantle. Thor is his fucking name, pretty much. All right. But they're calling it a mantle for female Thor. Captain America is not a mantle. All right? I don't care if Falcon is taking on, the as Captain America. No, Steve Rogers is Captain America. It is not a mantle. Spider-Man is not a mantle. Peter Parker is Spider-Man. But there it is. Anyway, let me close bounding. I gotta send it tweets. Oh, not tweets. Text. Sorry. All right. But here is the Screen Rant article. So we get it, Screen Rant. We get it. You are a Rings of Power shield. Chill. You're a Rings of Power shill. The Rings of Power new Mordor origin story actually fits with Tolkien's Lord of the Rings mythology. Well, to that, I say to you, Screen Rant. Ha! Gay! They are shilled as a new origin story around Mordor, but it actually fits with Tolkien's original Lord of the Rings mythology. Well, if it's a new origin story, how does it fit with the existing mythology? The amount of mental gymnastics with Screen Rant is just mind-boggling. All right. So, Rings of Power follows a compressed timeline. Incredibly compressed timeline. Adding connective tissue and subplots that fit with Tolkien's Middle-earth canon. No. One thing, if they don't fit with canon because they're all over the place. 2, you have non-canonical characters that Tolkien never wrote. And 3, you have in-name only characters that of existing Tolkien creations that, again, are in-name only. Like, literally in-name only. Galadriel's not Galadriel. Celebrimbor's not Celebrimbor. Elrond's not Elrond, and so forth. All right? It does not fit within Tolkien's Middle-earth canon because they cannot adapt Tolkien's Second Age canon because they don't have the rights to it. So basically, this is studio fiction. This is basically studio fiction, like using Tolkien, all right, to manipulate people into watching this series. The series reveals the origin of Mordor, showing it was initially a kingdom known as Angband before being rebuilt by Sauron after its fall. Angband and Mordor are in 2 different locations in Middle-earth. And I'll show you that. I'll show you. All right? It wasn't a kingdom that becomes Mordor at fucking all. Mordor is a separate land. It is a separate pre-existing land. Angband, all right, did not become Mordor. All right? Season 2, Rings of Power will focus on completing Mordor's transformation. Again, it already existed, all right, as a land. It did not need to be created or transformed, including the creation of iconic landmarks like Barad-dûr, which is the tower, and exploring the power dynamics between Morgoth, Sauron, and Adar. Morgoth was First Age. Morgoth was First Age. So why would you be at all exploring the power dynamics between Morgoth, who is now gone, Sauron, and Adar? Morgoth is gone at this point. He's gone. Morgoth was Melkor. Alright? Melkor being one of the Valar, the fallen angel. Alright? Basically, like, you read the beginning of the Silmarillion, it reads very much like the beginning of, like, the war in heaven in Genesis. Right? Melkor is pretty much Lucifer, the fallen angel. Alright? So Melkor was his name when he was in Valinor. He took on the, like, basically one of the names, like, he went by when he, like, tried, set up his kingdom, his hell on earth, in Middle Earth, literally. It was Morgoth. Alright? Given to him by the elves, I believe. But he's gone. So what power dynamic is there? Amazon Rings of Power has created a new origin story for Mordor, but it actually fits into what J.R.R. Tolkien already created with Lord of the Rings. The high fantasy series takes place primarily in the Second Age and follows younger versions of Galadriel and Elrond in name only, as well as the Moria dwarves. Non-canonical, there would be no two Durins, all right? Durin, all right? There would only be one, either the king or the one married to that fat black chick. All right, there would not be two Durins. That right there breaks lore. There would not be two Durins. And a group of early halflings, they're hobbits. You literally have hobbits in this show when they were never mentioned prior to the Third Age. All of them become part of cataclysmic events like the forging of the Rings of Power. We only saw 3. They look like the rings you get. You know, there's like machines where you put a quarter in, and they're in like those little plastic containers, and you like put the quarter in, spin it, and one pops out. That looks like as cheap as that. They look as cheap as that. Actually, they look a lot fucking cheaper than that. I would rather go to one of those machines, put a quarter in, and get a ring, and like walk around with one of those plastic rings on me. That like would be better looking than the shit we saw in Rings of Power. But we only saw 3. We only saw 3 Rings of Power, so we got 17 more to go, including the One Ring. That ultimately led to the events surrounding the destruction of the One Ring by Frodo and the Fellowship of Crunkle in The Lord of the Rings. The first season followed the machinations of Sauron, the Deceiver, who, posing as a deposed king of the Southlands, non-canonical character, befriended Galadriel before both the immortals were taken into the custody of the Númenóreans. All right. Goes against lore to the high fucking heavens, but oh well. They sailed together to reclaim his homeland in an Aragorn-esque story, with no one the wiser that the Southlands were being usurped by one of his allies. While elves and men and other races struggled to defend their lands from orcs and other dark forces, the season ended with the first signs of activity in the history of Mordor since the time of Morgoth. Alright, the Rings of Power as Mordor at origin doesn't actually contradict Tolkien. Do tell, Screen Rant. Do fucking tell. Again, I will say this to you. Ha! Gay! Okay. Rings of Power follows a compressed timeline, meaning that it knits events that happened over several hundred years into a tighter narrative so that it's easier to follow. No. No. Just no. It also adds connective tissue with a few subplots that could have conceivably happened within the canon of Middle-earth. Just because it could have conceivably happened doesn't mean, shit. It means jack fucking shit. What we want to see happen on screen is what did happen within canon, and that is what Tolkien wrote. Not what could have happened, not what the showrunners wanted to happen. No, what did happen. That's what we wanted to see. One of the most momentous events to occur in Lord of the Rings timeline happened in Rings of Power Episode 6, when one of the villagers activated the mystery sword while everyone else was fighting with the orcs in the Southland, resulting in a volcanic eruption from Mount Doom that had ripple effects throughout the terrain. Yeah, so basically, that literally was the episode where Galadriel had plot armor. She took a volcanic blast to the face and survived. Long before Mordor developed as the main base of operations for Sauron and the rest of the Lord of the Rings villains. Okay, first off, Sauron is the big villain. Secondly, the other villains are servants of Sauron, pretty much. The orcs, Saruman pretty much serves Sauron. The Uruk-hai, orcs, the ring wraiths, which are the formerly the 9 men who held the 9 rings of power. All right, they're servants of the villain Sauron, essentially. Not the. I hate Screen Rant so fucking much. They dwelled in a kingdom known as Angband. There, Sauron's predecessor Morgoth reigned over the land and created volcanoes and dangerous mountain ranges to protect himself from anyone looking to invade. After Angband fell in the First Age in the War of Wrath, Morgoth was forced to rebuild somewhere else, and the Dark Lord used his unholy powers to conjure Mount Doom, but it wasn't an active volcano initially and didn't awaken until many years later. Well, let's look at this. All right. Probably should have shared my whole screen. Let me just see something. All right. Well, here's Mount. So here's Mordor. I'll share the one about Mordor. And I'll share the one about Angband. All right. This is Angband. Okay. Mightily fortified citadel. Right. So constructed by Melkor, aka Morgoth, in the earliest days. Okay. So during the First Age. Okay. Basically, as a way to, as a defense against the Valar. Right. Outlying fortress in his northern stronghold of Autumno. All right. Northern. All right. Northern. Okay. That's where it is. So he built it near the trees, originally as an outlying fortress and armory to his great northern citadel at Autumno. It was built near the northwestern shores of the Great Sea, right? Basically as a way to keep the Valar at bay, all right? To keep the Valar at bay. So that's where it's located. And here's a map to show you. Okay, so up here. You see my mouse up here. That's where it was. So up north. Not southeast, up north. Okay? Just to give you guys perspective. So right here's Mordor. Land in the southeast of the Westlands, east of Gondor. During most of the Second and Third Ages, it was ruled by Sauron. Alright? It already existed. This land, even though Mount Doom wasn't active, already fucking existed. Mount Doom wasn't activated at all. All right, at least nowhere near the means that was shown in Rings of Power. It already existed pretty much. It was a dormant volcano. All right, but this land already existed, and this is when Sauron picked. And I believe this goes into the article, but in terms of the timeline, year 1000 in the Second Age, year 1000, Sauron, alarmed by the growing power of the Númenóreans, chooses Mordor as the land to make it into a stronghold. He begins the building of Barad-dûr. So he chose the land. It didn't. So the Southland or whatever didn't become Mordor. Mordor was already fucking there. Mordor was already there. That's why Sauron picked it. It was literally a second hell on Earth. He didn't create it. He didn't fucking create it. And then 500 years later is when he deceives the elves into creating the Rings of Power. So they compressed 500 to 600 years of timeline into one fucking season. And the timeline was all over the fucking place. So here's Mordor. Alright? Right? It already existed. It already existed. Okay? So, Melkor created Mount Doom in the First Age, and the name Mordor may have been given to the land before Sauron settled there because of its eruptions. Alright? So, before even Sauron got there, like I said, Mordor existed. Mordor existed. Okay? Come on, StreamYard, you bastards. Here's Mount Doom. Alright. Melkor created Mount Doom in the First Age. Name Mordor may have been given to the surrounding land before Sauron settled there because of its eruptions. When Sauron chose the land of Mordor as his dwelling place in the Second Age, alright, Aradun was the first reason of his choice. Right? He used that fire that welled there from the heart of the earth in his sorceries and his forging. All right. Again, cannot reiterate this enough. Cannot reiterate this enough. Why did it not share StreamYard, you fucking bastards? I selected it, but here it is. All right. So you have basically them taking from the First Age and the Second Age and just bastardizing everything. Because Because again, Morgoth does not. He's gone at this point. When this story is supposed to be taking place, he is fucking gone. He's done for. He is no more. All right, Morgoth is gone. Why would we need to explore any power dynamics amongst these three, especially with a non-canonical character called Adar? It makes absolutely no sense. And why did we need to see the creation of Mordor at fucking all? When in fact it existed several hundred years at the very fucking least. Probably like, a lot longer than that before the events even take place in the Second Age that we're supposed to be focusing on now. Again, Mordor existed. It was already there. Melkor, right? When Angband fell, right? Morgoth had to find somewhere else to as like his basically second hell on earth, basically, as his kingdom of sorts, his fortress, the land he wanted to rule. So when he created this, when that's when he basically corrupted everything around in that land, pretty much, and that's what became Mordor. It wasn't the Southland. It wasn't like, a bunch of, didn't have humans and elves. But there it is. Because it was first age, pretty much. It was first age, so well before the Second Age. And they're trying to claim that it fits. Yep. Rings of Power adds a lot of new Mordor details, but then it doesn't fit into canon, so it's adding details, now does it? Sauron and Adar, who's a non-canonical character, have a complicated plan to build Mordor in the Rings of Power, including, but not limited to, creating a magical indestructible sword to act as a key to mechanism that controls a dam, having hundreds of minions dig miles of trenches, relying on the elves and their nearby watchtowers to ignore any iconography devoted to Sauron, and finally wait until the mechanism releases the floodgates that lead straight to the volcano or Mount Doom will erupt. Suffice it to say, the Amazon series adds a lot of details about Mordor that never actually happened in Tolkien's lore, but you're saying it fucking fits. You're saying all of this shit, basically relying on the elves being fucking stupid, fits. Elves that can see for miles. They can see for fucking miles. That's how good their vision is. They somehow missed these orcs digging trenches. They somehow missed these orcs laying waste to a village not far away. They somehow fucking missed that. So basically, all of this relied on the elves being fucking retarded. Slow clap. While it might seem like it hinges on a great deal of coincidence and convenience to be achieved, yeah, it sure as hell fucking did, and stupidity on the elves' part, the origins of Mount Doom actually cement a recurring theme in Rings of Power. Evil can't create, it can only corrupt. Well, it created Mordor! I'm not saying this to defend the stupidity, so, I know, the argument can be it corrupted Southlands, but at the same time, Mordor was created. They showed literally Mordor being created. By activating the volcano the way they did. Not through the embodiment of evil that was Morgoth. Not through the sorceries and dark magics surrounding the Morgoth and Sauron or anything like that. Nothing to do with that. No, just stick a sword in a mechanism, get the floodgates to open, go down to the volcano and erupt it, and somehow, it created a cloud that covered the land, just so no sun would shine on it. How? Think about that. It makes absolutely no fucking sense. One volcano erupts. Yeah, it'll decimate the Southland, but you're telling me that was enough? That whole thing was enough to create what we now know as Mordor, a land of darkness? This is beyond retarded. Sauron, Adar, and their underlings are sending a shockwave of devastation through Middle-earth to create their Shadow Realm as a way to remake Middle-earth according to Sauron's terms of order. While the order and nature of events have been changed, the impetus remains the same. Sauron was friend-zoned by, in name only, Galadriel at the end of Season 1. So Rings of Power Season 2 must complete Mordor's transformation. Alright, we'll need to complete Mordor's transformation after the eruption of Mount Doom. There are plenty of pieces of the puzzle to add, including the iconic gate that features so prominently in The War of the Ring. Barad-dûr and the series might even choose to go into detail about who actually chose Mordor as a target in the first place between Morgoth, Sauron, and Adar. Morgoth did. Morgoth did because Angband fell. And he had to choose another base of operations, so to speak. He chose Mordor. He chose that land. Ultimately, and then Sauron, when Morgoth fell, finally, Sauron he took over. Chose it as his base of operations, but Morgoth created it. Not through the machinations that Rings of Power showed. He literally created with evil. Corruption. If Adar can change form and has the ability to shapeshift like Sauron, it's possible fans have only seen a taste of his power going into the second season. We have no idea. We have no fucking clue who Adar is. So who the fuck cares? The origin of Mordor is an exciting event in Tolkien's canon, and watching it happen in real time adds to the inventive and dramatic world-building happening in Rings of Power. We get it. You're shills. The ruination of the lush natural environment, as well as the corruption of those who follow Sauron and Adar, offer a dynamic commentary on the destructive forces of industrialization and avarice, themes Tolkien did not take lightly. Stop fucking shilling for this shit show, because it's not Tolkien in any way. But there it is. There it fucking is. So, in 1 week, you have 2 shill articles defending beardless female dwarves and how it could conceivably fit into canon, and defending the creation of Mordor and Rings of Power and how it fits into canon, and where none of it fits in the Tolkien lore, because it goes against Tolkien lore and everything Tolkien established within Middle-earth, the world building, and so forth. See you, Gravy. The authors are too busy getting their haircuts and fades. Yeah, maybe the author's trying to get a free spaceship from Lord Bezos. Yes. Now, like I said in my one video, maybe both, I can't remember, but I am going to be watching Season 2. What will likely happen when Season 2 drops is I most likely will not do spoiler-free reviews, because I imagine that no one's going to fucking care. The numbers dropped off even in Season 1, so there's going to be hardly anyone who's going to be caring about a spoiler-free review when it comes to Season 2. So what I'll likely do is watch the episode like the Friday during the week, watch that, and then give like a spoiler breakdown live stream the following day, Saturday afternoon. All right, that's most likely what I'll do. I won't do like spoiler-free reviews because, again, I suspect no one's going to fucking care at all about being spoiler-free when it comes to the series. In particular, when I say no one cares, I mean no rational, intelligent, thinking Tolkien fan will care, because they've already checked out. Didn't even bother watching, or already checked out Season 1 because they realized if they were a little too forgiving initially, that nothing about this series is at all remotely connected to Tolkien. All right, so numbers have dropped. Numbers already started dropping in the first season. They'll continue to drop from Season 1 to 2 because no one's going to want to come back to watch it. But I will. I'm not going to say how I'm going to watch it, but I'm going to watch it, and I'll do live stream spoiler breakdowns the next day. That's what I'm going to do whenever it drops. But there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Went a little bit over because, showing the different links for Mordor, Mount Doom, and so forth, and how, no, it doesn't fit into Tolkien's lore. Nothing about this series fits into Tolkien's lore, but there it is. But anyway, so in about 20, maybe a little over 20 minutes, I will be live on my Kick. Like I said, playing some Uno, very much a chill stream because did not sleep too well last night. I have a bit of a headache, and I don't want to play a game that I'm going to rage at and exacerbate whatever headache I have now, pretty much. So I'm going to play some Uno, just chill and hang out with you guys pretty much in the chat. So hope to see you all there in about 20 or so minutes. I'm going to give my voice a break, try to take my dog out, and so forth. I rage less at Uno than I do at like Armored Core 6 and so forth. So yeah, I actually raged less. So that's why I picked it. But anyway, see you all about then. Hope you have a good rest of your day or evening, depending on where you are in the world. And I hope to see you all in about 20 minutes or so. So take care, stay safe, and always remember, Screen Rant is gay. Peace.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.